My name is Barbara Wilson. To the world, I am a 68-year-old retiree who spends too much time fussing over my prize-winning hybrid tea roses. To the neighborhood, I am the quiet widow who drives a 10-year-old sedan and waves politely at the mailman. They see the gray hair, the slight limp in my left leg when it rains, and the reading glasses perched on the end of my nose. They see a woman in the twilight of her life, harmless and fading. They are wrong. I am not fading. I am waiting. I sat in the basement of my Victorian home, a space my late husband Thomas used to call the bunker. It was soundproofed, climate-controlled, and lined with server racks that hummed with a low, steady vibration. On the primary monitor, a high-definition feed showed the front gate of my property. A bead of sweat trickled down my temple, not from heat, but from focus. Audio check 4, I said, my voice steady. Channel 4 is clear. B. Reception is 100%, a voice crackled in my earpiece. It was Vance. Vance was a man I had arrested 15 years ago for bypassing a bank's biometric vault in under 3 minutes. I was the lead forensic investigator for Titan Security Solutions. Then I caught him, but I didn't book him. I saw a kid with too much brain power and not enough guidance. I gave him a choice: prison or a job. He took the job. Now he runs his own legitimate cybersecurity firm, but he still answers my calls on the first ring. Video feeds are synced, Vance continued. I've patched the blind spots in the hallway and the master bedroom. If a dust mite sneezes in that house tonight, you'll see it in 4000 resolution. Good, I said, leaning back in my ergonomic chair, because tonight we're catching rats, not dust mites. You sure about this, Barbara? Vance's tone shifted, losing its professional crispness. Once we toggle that switch, there's no going back. This isn't an investigation anymore. It's a demolition. I looked at the photo of Thomas on the desk. He was laughing, his head thrown back, standing in the very garden I now tended alone. He built this house. He built this family, and for the last 6 months, I had watched that family try to tear it apart, brick by brick. I'm sure, I replied. They aren't coming for dinner, Vance. They're coming for a surrender. I need everything recorded. Every lie, every threat, every greedy glance. Copy that. Systems are green. I'll be on standby on the secure line. Good hunting, B. The line went dead. I stood up, adjusted my cardigan, and walked to the mirror. I practiced my expression. I let my shoulders slump. I widened my eyes to look slightly bewildered. I relaxed my jaw to suggest a hint of senility. The predator was gone. The prey stood in the mirror. Showtime, I whispered. I moved upstairs to my study, the heavy oak floorboards creaking under my slippers. On my mahogany desk lay a single manila folder. It wasn't thick, but it was heavy. It contained the ruin of my daughter, Jessica. I opened it, though I had memorized every line. Jessica Wilson, age 42, occupation, entrepreneur, which was a polite way of saying unemployed dreamer. Current debt load, $250,000. Creditor, a syndicate operating out of Detroit, specifically a loan shark named the Butcher. My daughter wasn't just bad with money. She was addicted to the thrill of losing it. She had gambled away her savings, her 401k, and her dignity. And when that wasn't enough, she had turned to me, not with the truth, but with lies. Beside her file was another, Adrian Wilson, my son. Employment status, junior executive at a logistics firm. Current status, under internal investigation for embezzlement. Amount misappropriated, $50,000. And the final 2 sheets of paper. The newest additions to the pile, Marcus and Diane Ross, Adrian's parents. They rolled into town 3 days ago in a leased Mercedes, wearing clothes they couldn't afford, smelling of desperation and cheap cologne. My private investigator had confirmed it this morning. Chapter 7 bankruptcy filed in Arizona. Fraudulent transfer of assets. They were running from the feds, and they needed a place to hide. They viewed me as the solution. A confused old woman sitting on a $2 million property with a fat pension and presumably a hidden stash of cash. They had a plan. I knew it because I had been listening to their phone calls for months. Step 1. Move the Rosses in. Step 2. Have me declared mentally incompetent due to advanced age and dementia. Step 3. Power of attorney. Step 4. Liquidation. They wanted to erase me. I picked up my fountain pen. It felt cool and solid in my hand. It was also a long-range directional microphone with a 12-hour recording capacity. I clipped it into my shirt pocket. I looked at the calendar. April 17th, 1 week ago, I had done something that would have made a weaker woman weep. I had anonymously wired $250,000 to the Detroit syndicate. I paid Jessica's debt, every penny. I cleared the ledger. She was free. She didn't know it was me, but she knew the threat was gone. She had received the confirmation text on Tuesday. I had watched her read it on the hidden camera in her car. I saw her cry with relief. That was the test. A woman with a clean slate has a choice. She can come to her mother, confess her mistakes, and ask for forgiveness. She can say, "I messed up, Mom, but I'm safe now, and I want to do better." Or she can see her newfound freedom as a license to sin again. She can think, "I got away with it once. Let's go for the big score." Jessica hadn't called. She hadn't come over. Instead, she and Adrian had accelerated their timeline. They weren't just looking for a bailout anymore. They were looking for a takeover. She failed the test, and that failure broke my heart more than any bullet ever could. The sound of a car engine cut through the silence. I walked to the window. A black luxury SUV pulled into the driveway, crushing the gravel. They were here. I shuffled to the front door, adopting the persona I had perfected over the last few weeks. My hands trembled slightly, a calculated affectation. I opened the heavy oak door just as they reached the porch. "Mom," Jessica exclaimed, her voice pitched a little too high, a little too cheerful. She was wearing a blazer that was tight around the midsection, stress eating. Her eyes were darting around, never landing on mine. "Jessica," I said, keeping my voice soft and raspy. I wasn't sure you were coming. Is it Sunday already?" Adrian stepped forward. He was sharp angles and expensive fabric. His smile didn't reach his eyes. It stopped at his teeth. "Of course it's Sunday. Barbara, we told you 3 times. Don't you remember?" The gaslighting began before they even crossed the threshold. "Oh, right. Yes," I stammered, stepping back to let them in. I must have forgotten to write it down." Behind them loomed Marcus and Diane Ross. Marcus was a large man with a florid face and a handshake that felt like a wet sponge. Diane was thin, adorned with jewelry that jingled with every movement, jewelry I knew she had hidden from the bankruptcy court. "Barbara, dear," Marcus boomed, clapping me on the shoulder with false camaraderie. "House is looking well. It's looking a bit tired, isn't it?" Diane interjected. "Needs a fresh coat. Maybe something modern." "It's Victorian," I muttered, closing the door. "It's supposed to look this way." "Nonsense," Diane chimed in, her eyes instantly scanning the foyer, assessing the value of the antique rug, the grandfather clock. "It's gloomy. We could brighten this up in a weekend. Open the space, knock down a few walls." They had been in my house for 30 seconds, and they were already remodeling. Come in," I said, waving them toward the dining room. "I made a roast. Well, I hope it's okay. The oven dials are a bit tricky these days." Adrian exchanged a look with Jessica. I saw it, the subtle nod. "She's losing it." "Perfect. We brought wine," Adrian said, holding up a bottle of Cabernet that cost more than my weekly grocery bill. "And we need to talk, Barbara, about the future." "The future." I blinked rapidly. "I'm just trying to get through dinner, my dear." The dining room was tense. The air was thick with unspoken agendas. I had set the table with Thomas's fine china, the platinum-rimmed plates we had bought in Paris 30 years ago. Marcus was on his 3rd glass of wine before the salad was finished. He ate with his mouth open, chewing loud enough to be picked up by the microphone and the chandelier. "So, Barbara," Marcus started, wiping grease from his chin, "we've been hearing some concerning things from the kids about your health." I put my fork down, my hand shaking just enough to rattle the silverware against the china. "My health, I'm fine, Marcus, just tired." "Tired is the first sign," Diane said, leaning in like a concerned viper. "Forgetfulness, confusion. Jessica says you got lost driving to the grocery store last week." I had taken a detour to meet with my lawyer, Baxter Collins. "I took a wrong turn," I said defensively. "They changed the street signs." "They didn't change the signs, Mom," Jessica said quietly. She was staring at her plate, pushing peas around with her fork. She couldn't look at me. The guilt was eating her alive, but she was too weak to stop it. "You're not safe here alone. This house, it's too big. Too many stairs. What if you fall?" "I manage," I said. "I have my routine." "Routine isn't enough," Adrian snapped. His patience was wearing thin. He checked his watch. He wanted this done. "Look, let's cut to the chase. Mom and Dad, Marcus and Diane, they need a place to stay for a while. Their condo in Arizona is undergoing renovations." "Renovations?" I asked innocently. "I thought you said they sold it." Renovations, Marcus corrected loudly. Major structural work. We need a base of operations, and since you're rattling around in this mausoleum all by yourself, it makes sense for us to move in. Move in. I looked at Jessica. Ideally, yes, Adrian pressed. It solves everything. They can look after you, cook for you, make sure you don't wander off, and in exchange, they get a room. It's a win-win. I don't need looking after, I said, putting a hint of steel in my voice. Just a hint. And Thomas's guest rooms are full of his things. I can't move them. Thomas is dead. Barbara. Adrian's voice cracked like a whip. The table went silent. Jessica flinched. Adrian, don't know. Jessica, she needs to hear it. He turned his full fury on me. He's been gone for 5 years. You're hoarding dust and memories while your family or actual living family is struggling. It's selfish. Selfish, I repeated. The word hung in the air. Yes, selfish, Diane added. We are offering to help you to manage this estate. You clearly can't handle the finances anymore. The upkeep alone must be draining your pension. We can take over the bills, Marcus said, reaching for the wine bottle again. I have extensive experience in wealth management. I can streamline your assets, make sure your legacy is protected. I looked at Marcus, the man who had bankrupted 3 companies in a decade, the man who was currently hiding assets from federal investigators. You want to manage my money? I asked softly. We want to help, Jessica whispered. I looked at my daughter. Is that what you want, Jessica? You want your father-in-law to control my accounts. Jessica swallowed hard. She looked at Adrian. He glared at her, a silent command. It's for the best, Mom, she choked out. You're old. The betrayal was complete. I slowly placed my napkin on the table. I stopped shaking. I straightened my spine. The confused old woman evaporated, and for a fleeting second, the investigator returned. No, I said. The single syllable landed like a grenade. Excuse me. Adrian blinked. I said no, I repeated, my voice clear and resonant. Marcus and Diane are not moving in. You are not managing my finances, and you are certainly not touching Thomas's things. You don't have a choice, Adrian hissed, standing up. His face was flushed with wine and rage. We've already spoken to Dr. Montgomery. We're filing for competency review next week. If you don't agree to this arrangement voluntarily, we will have the court force it on you. We will put you in a home, Barbara, a nice small room with rubber walls where you can't hurt anyone. Is that a threat? I asked calmly. It's a promise, he spat. Then, you should leave, I said. All of you. Get out of my house. This isn't your house anymore, old woman, Adrian screamed. He grabbed the heavy crystal water pitcher from the center of the table. It belongs to the family. It belongs to Jessica. Put the pitcher down, Adrian, I said, not moving. Make me. He was unhinged now. The stress of the embezzlement, the fear of prison, the grit, it all boiled over. He didn't just threaten. He threw it. I saw it coming. In my prime, I would have caught it or dodged it effortlessly. But I didn't. I needed this. I needed the mark. I stood still. The heavy crystal pitcher, filled with water and ice, struck me squarely on the right cheekbone. The pain was blinding. A white-hot star exploded behind my eyes. The sound of the impact was a sickening thud, followed immediately by the crash of crystal shattering against the wall behind me. I stumbled back, gripping the table. Warm, sticky blood began to pour down my face instantly, soaking into my white collar. The cut was deep. I could feel the skin parted. The room went deathly silent. Adrian stood there, his chest heaving, his hands still outstretched. He looked horrified, not at what he had done, but at the reality of it. Oh my God, Mom, Jessica gasped. She started to move toward me. Stay back, I ordered. I didn't shout, but the authority in my voice froze her in her tracks. I pulled a handkerchief from my pocket and pressed it to my cheek. It turned crimson in seconds. You stepped into it, Adrian stammered, his eyes wide. I didn't. You moved. Yeah, Marcus said, finding his voice. You moved. Barbara, clumsy. You're clumsy. They were already rewriting the narrative. I looked at them. Blood dripped from my chin onto the hardwood floor. I'm going to the emergency room, I said. My voice was eerily calm. Wait, Mom. Let us drive you, Jessica pleaded. We can explain. No, I said. I turned my back on them. You've done enough. I walked out of the dining room. I didn't run. I walked with a steady, determined pace. I grabbed my keys from the bowl in the foyer. She's going to the police, Diane whispered loudly. Stop her, Adrian yelled. I slammed the front door before they could move. I was in my car and reversing down the driveway before Jessica even made it to the porch. I touched my cheek. The pain was agonizing, throbbing in time with my heartbeat. Phase 1 complete, I whispered to the empty car. I drove straight to Northwestern Memorial Hospital. I didn't speed. I used my turn signals. I was the picture of a responsible citizen in distress. When I walked into the ER, the triage nurse gasped. "Ma'am, what happened?" "Domestic incident," I said clearly. "I need a doctor, and I need you to document this." Within 10 minutes, I was in a private room. The doctor, a young woman named Dr. Evans, looked at the wound with a grimace. "That's a deep laceration, Ms. Wilson. It's going to need at least 12 stitches. What hit you?" "A crystal pitcher," I said, "thrown from a distance of about 6 feet. I need to report this," Dr. Evans said. "Protocol for assault." "Please do," I nodded. "But before you stitch it up, I need photographs. High resolution. I want the depth and the jagged edges documented." "We usually leave that to the police forensics," she said. "I am paying for this visit in cash, doctor," I said, pulling a thick envelope from my jacket. "I am retaining my own records. Take the photos." She hesitated, then nodded. She took the photos, brutal, unflinching close-ups of my ruined face, while she stitched me up, a process that felt like being bitten by fire ants repeatedly. My lawyer walked in. Baxter Collins was the kind of lawyer who wore 3-piece suits on a Sunday evening and scared judges just by clearing his throat. "We had been friends for 30 years. Jesus, Barbara," Baxter said, looking at my face. "You didn't say you were going to let him take your head off." "It had to be real, Baxter," I gritted out as the doctor tied off a knot. "Accusations are cheap. Scars are evidence." "The police are in the lobby," Baxter said. "Officer Reynolds. Good man. By the book. Perfect. What's the play?" "Terrified," I said, practicing the tremor in my voice. "I'm a confused, battered old woman who just wants to protect her daughter. I don't want to press charges yet." Baxter smiled, a shark spotting blood in the water. "The reluctant victim strategy. They'll hate it. It makes you look helpless and makes the aggressor look like a monster who has intimidated you into silence." "Exactly. If I press charges tonight, it's a fight. If I run away and hide, it's a mystery. It gives Adrian confidence. It makes him think he's won. And when he thinks he's won, he'll get sloppy." Officer Reynolds was a veteran. He had tired eyes and a notebook that had seen too much tragedy. He looked at my bandaged face, and then at me. "Ms. Wilson," he said gently, "the doctor says you were assaulted." I looked at my hands, wringing them together. "It was an accident, officer. An argument." Tempers flared. "My son-in-law, he's under a lot of stress. He threw a heavy object at your face." "Ma'am," Reynolds said flatly, "that's assault with a deadly weapon." "I don't want to arrest family," I whispered. "Please, think of my daughter. It would destroy her." Reynolds sighed. He had heard this 1,000 times. "Ma'am, if you go back there, you are in danger." "I can't go back," I said, looking up with wet eyes. "I'm afraid they took over the house." Baxter stepped in. "My client will be staying with me tonight, officer. We are going to a secure location. She is not safe at her residence. We can go over there and remove them," Reynolds offered. "No," I panicked. "No, please, just let everyone calm down. I'll file a report in the morning if I have to. Just don't hurt them." Reynolds closed his notebook with a snap. He was frustrated, exactly as I wanted him to be. He saw a victim too scared to act. He would go to the house to check on things, but without a complainant willing to press charges. His hands were tied. He would see Adrian and Jessica, and he would judge them. "All right, Ms. Wilson, but we will be filing an informational report, and I strongly suggest you get a restraining order." "Thank you, officer," I murmured. As Reynolds left, I dropped the act. My posture straightened. The fear vanished from my eyes, replaced by cold calculation. "Let's go," I said to Baxter. "Vance has the mobile unit parked 2 blocks from the house." "Mobile unit?" Baxter raised an eyebrow. "I thought we were going to your penthouse." "I need to be closer," I said. "I need to be there when the trap snaps shut." The vehicle looked like a generic plumbing van on the outside. Inside, it was a compact version of my basement command center. Vance was sitting at a console, typing furiously. "Barbara." Vance nodded, eyeing my bandage. "Nice war paint. Is the feed live?" I asked, sitting in the second chair. "Live and loud," Vance said. He pointed to the bank of monitors. We were looking into my dining room. It was chaos. Adrian was pacing, holding a towel to his forehead. Jessica was sitting at the table, head in her hands, Marcus was pouring another drink. She went to the cops, Adrian shouted. The audio was crisp. I know she did. That spiteful old bat. Maybe she didn't, Jessica moaned. Maybe she just went to get stitched up. Look at the blood, Jessica. He pointed to the floor. It looks like a crime scene. If the police come, there was a knock at the door. On the exterior camera feed, I saw Officer Reynolds and his partner standing on the porch. Showtime, Baxter muttered. We watched as Jessica opened the door. She looked like she was going to vomit. Officers, Jessica squeaked. We're looking for Barbara Wilson, Reynolds said sternly. We have a report of a disturbance. She fell, Adrian called out, rushing to the door, wiping fake tears from his eyes. Oh, officer, it was terrible. She slipped on the rug and hit her face on the table. She was so confused. She ran out before we could help her. Lying to a police officer, Baxter noted. That's obstruction. Add it to the list. Reynolds narrowed his eyes. That's not what she told us at the hospital, sir. He said she was struck with a pitcher. She's confused. Adrian sobbed. She has dementia. She makes things up. We're just trying to care for her. Reynolds didn't buy it, but he didn't have enough to arrest them on the spot without my cooperation. We will be filing a report, Reynolds said. If she returns and you are here, we will be called back. Do you understand? We're just waiting for her to come home. Adrian lied. The police left. As soon as the door closed, Adrian's face hardened. He turned to Jessica and slapped her. She's building a case, he screamed. She's not coming back. She's going to sue us. What do we do? Marcus asked, looking panicked. We need leverage, Adrian said. We need to find the money, the liquid assets. If we have the money, we can hire better lawyers. We can fight the competency hearing. She keeps everything in the bank, Jessica said. No, she doesn't. Diane interjected. Old women like that, they don't trust banks. She has a stash, a safe, gold, cash, something. I leaned into the microphone in the van. Vance, initiate the unexpected ally protocol. Vance grinned, dialing. Inside the house, Jessica's phone rang. She looked at it. Unknown number. Answer it. Adrian barked. Jessica answered. Hello, this is Vance, Vance said, deepening his voice. I heard you have a security problem. Who is this? Jessica asked, trembling. I'm a friend of a friend. Look, I used to do some work for your old lady. Security consults. I know the systems in that house better than she does. What do you want? I heard the old woman bolted, Vance said smoothly. And I know you're looking for the rainy day fund. The big safe. Jessica put the phone on speaker. Adrian's eyes widened. You know where the money is? She asked greedily. I know where the vault is, Vance lied. But you'll never get into it without the override codes. The old woman has that house locked down tight. How much? Adrian asked. 10 grand, Vance said. Wire it to this crypto wallet and I'll walk you through the bypass. Do it, Adrian ordered. Jessica, I don't have 10 grand, Jessica cried. Use the corporate card, he yelled. The one you haven't maxed out yet. Jessica fumbled with her wallet. She transferred the money. Received, Vance said in the van, winking at me. Okay, listen carefully. The wall safe in the office, that's a decoy. It's empty. I knew it, Diane shouted. The real assets, Vance continued, weaving the web, were liquidated last year. She converted them to bullion. Gold bars. Gold, Marcus breathed, his eyes lighting up like a slot machine. Where is it? Adrian demanded. She buried it, Vance said. Underground, under the foundation of the greenhouse. She put it in a watertight pelican case and poured concrete over it. But the concrete is thin. You can break through it with a sledgehammer. The greenhouse, Jessica said. That's why she spends so much time out there. The false lead, I whispered to Baxter. Hook, line, and sinker. It had started to rain. A cold, miserable April downpour. On the monitors, we watched the 4 of them, Jessica, Adrian, Marcus, and Diane, run out the back door. They were armed with shovels and a pickaxe they found in the garage. They were wearing their Sunday best. Adrian in his designer suit, Marcus in his Italian loafers. They reached the greenhouse. It was dark and muddy. Adrian screamed, pointing at the floor. Right there, near the roses. Marcus swung the pickaxe. It hit the dirt with a wet thud. For the next hour, we watched them destroy themselves. The rain soaked them to the bone. The mud ruined their clothes. They slipped. They fell. They cursed. Marcus swung the axe and hit a rock, sending a vibration up his arms that made him drop the tool and howl in pain. Keep digging, you idiot, Diane yelled, her hair plastered to her skull. Jessica was crying again. shoveling mud like a prisoner on a chain gang. It's not here. There's nothing here. Deepak, Adrian shrieked. He was on his knees, clawing at the mud with his bare hands, his expensive suit caked in filth. He looked like a ghoul. They dug a hole, 3 feet deep and 6 feet wide. They found nothing but worms and roots. He lied, Jessica gasped, collapsing into the mud. The guy on the phone, he lied. Adrian stood up, shivering violently. She played us, the old woman, she's watching. He looked up at the security camera in the corner of the greenhouse. He wiped mud from his face, smearing it like war paint. She's watching us right now, he whispered. Let's go inside, Marcus moaned. I'm freezing. They stumbled back to the house, defeated, dirty, and furious. They entered the mudroom, dripping water and filth onto the pristine tile. We need to leave, Jessica said, her teeth chattering. We need to get out of here. We aren't going anywhere, Adrian snapped. We're finding that money. There is no money, Jessica yelled back. Don't you get it? She played us. Jessica grabbed the handle of the back door to leave. It didn't turn. She pulled harder. It's locked. Unlock it then, Adrian shouted. I can't. The thumb turn won't move. Try the front door. They ran to the foyer. Jessica grabbed the massive brass handle of the front door. She twisted. Nothing. It's the magnetic locks, Jessica whispered in horror. The emergency lockdown. She sealed the house. Break a window, Marcus yelled, grabbing a heavy umbrella stand. He swung it at the living room window. The umbrella stand bounced off the glass with a dull thud. Polycarbonate laminate, Vance said in the van. Hurricane-proof. You'd need a battering ram to get through that. They were trapped. What is happening? Diane screamed. I want to go home. You are home, I said. My voice boomed through the house speakers. I had the microphone in the van keyed up. They all froze. They looked up at the ceiling, terror washing over their muddy faces. Barbara, Jessica whispered. Hello, Jessica, I said. You look cold. Let us out. Adrian screamed at the ceiling. This is kidnapping. This is false imprisonment. It's not imprisonment, I corrected. It's a security lockdown triggered by intruders. I'm just protecting my property. We aren't intruders. We're family, Marcus bellowed. Family doesn't throw crystal at my head, I replied coldly. Family doesn't try to have me committed, and family certainly doesn't dig up my prize-winning roses looking for non-existent gold. You set us up, Adrian yelled. I gave you a shovel, I said. You chose to dig. I nodded to Vance. Opened the library. Inside the house, the large mahogany bookcase in the study clicked loudly. It swung open slowly, revealing the hidden panic room, the entrance to the bunker from the inside. They huddled together in the foyer, watching the dark opening. Come into the library, I commanded. No, Jessica whimpered. The police are 5 minutes away, I said. You can wait for them in the foyer, covered in mud and guilt, or you can come talk to me. They moved slowly toward the library. I stepped out of the secret door from the basement stairs, entering the library. I was clean. I was dressed in a fresh pantsuit. The bandage on my face was stark white against my skin. Baxter stood beside me. Jessica, Adrian, Marcus, and Diane stood before us. They were a pathetic sight, wet, shivering, covered in mud, their eyes wide with fear. Mom, Jessica started, taking a step forward. Stop, I said. I walked to the desk and picked up the folder, the dossier I had reviewed earlier. You wanted to manage my finances, I said to Marcus. You wanted to know where the money went. I tossed the folder onto the desk. It slid across the polished wood and stopped in front of Jessica. Open it. Jessica opened the folder with trembling, muddy hands. She saw the bank transfer receipt. Date, April 10th. Jessica Reed. Amount $250,000. Recipient, unknown. She looked up, confused. What is this? It's the receipt for your life, Jessica, I said. Her eyes went wide. I paid the syndicate, I said. I paid the butcher. You were clear. You were free. The silence in the room was heavy enough to crush a person. You paid it, Jessica whispered. A week ago, I said. I wanted to see what you would do. I wanted to see if you would come to me, if you would use your second chance to be a decent person. I looked at Adrian. Instead, you broke into my home. You assaulted me. You tried to steal what you thought was hidden because you were too greedy to be grateful. Jessica dropped to her knees. The realization hit her like a physical blow. She had committed felonies, ruined her relationship with her mother, and destroyed her life for a debt that didn't exist anymore. I didn't know, she sobbed. I didn't know. You didn't ask, I said. And you, Baxter stepped forward, pointing a finger at Adrian. Attempted grand larceny, elder abuse, assault with a deadly weapon, filing a false police report. And let's not forget the embezzlement from your firm, which we have already forwarded to the district attorney. Adrian paled beneath the mud. You can't prove that. I can prove everything, I said. The cameras recorded it all. The audio recorded every plan, every insult, every lie. The house. Adrian shrieked, grasping at straws. The house is still an asset. Jessica has rights. It's its marital property. Somehow we'll sue. This house, Baxter said calmly, belongs to the Thomas Wilson Trust. Barbara is merely the trustee. The beneficiary is St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. What? Marcus gasped. If Barbara dies or if she is incapacitated. Baxter smiled thinly. The house is immediately sold and the proceeds donated. You get nothing. Ever. Nothing. Diane whimpered. Nothing but prison time, I said. Blue and red lights flashed through the front window. Sirens wailed in the driveway. That will be Officer Reynolds, I said. And this time, I am pressing charges. The arrest was not dramatic. It was pathetic. Officer Reynolds and 3 other officers entered the house. They saw the mud. They saw the broken glass. They saw the defeated antagonists. Ms. Wilson, Reynolds asked, looking at me. I'm ready to make my statement now, officer, I said, and I have the surveillance footage ready for your evidence locker. They handcuffed Adrian first. He screamed obscenities at me as they dragged him out. I hope you die alone, old woman, he yelled. I won't be alone, I replied softly. I have my roses. They cuffed Marcus and Diane. The Rosses were silent, their con finally over. Then they came for Jessica. My daughter stood up. She didn't fight. She didn't scream. She looked at me with dead eyes. Mom, she whispered. I'm sorry. I looked at her. The girl I taught to ride a bike. The woman who chose greed over blood. I know, I said, but sorry doesn't fix the window, Jessica. And it doesn't fix this. I pointed to my scar. They led her away. The door closed. The house was quiet. Are you okay, Barbara? Baxter asked, putting a hand on my shoulder. I looked around the empty library, the mud on the floor, the shattered crystal in the dining room. No, I said truthfully. I've lost my daughter. You lost her a long time ago, Baxter said gently. Tonight, you just stopped her from taking you down with her. I suppose so, I sighed. Come on, Baxter, let's get a drink. I think there's a bottle of scotch in the cellar that the vultures didn't find. 6 months later, the courtroom was packed. The trial had been swift. The video evidence was irrefutable. Adrian received 8 years. The judge called him a predator of the worst kind. Marcus and Diane were extradited to Arizona to face federal fraud charges. They would likely die in minimum security prisons. Jessica got 5 years. She took a plea deal. She testified against Adrian. I sat in the back row. When the gavel came down, Jessica turned to look at the gallery. She found me. She nodded just once. A nod of acceptance. She was finally paying her own debts. I walked out of the courthouse into the bright autumn sun. Vance was waiting for me by his car. It's done, Vance asked. It's done, I said. Good, Vance smiled, because I got a call. An 80-year-old widow in Ohio. Her grandson is trying to forge her signature on a deed transfer. She needs help. I adjusted my sunglasses. The scar on my cheek twinged in the cold wind. A permanent reminder of the price of blindness. Does she have internet? I asked. Yeah. Set up the cameras, I said, opening the car door. Let's go to work. I am Barbara Wilson. I am 68 years old, and I have learned that family isn't about blood. It's about loyalty. And if you break that loyalty, I will find you.